So the Laodicean church within Revelations within the in the Bible is representative of a heart that's halfway for God and halfway for the world. We also see this with the Pharisees, where the Pharisees also had like a half-hearted heart towards God, where they only love God, where they only uh, did certain things, like a bunch of religious things, and though they looked out righteous outwardly, within their heart they carried all these different um greed and sin, and all these which greed is sin, and all these different things which are not of God, and they love the things of this world more than the things of God. So I wanted to encourage you today to with I guess understanding better about what a lukewarm Christian really is, because even the Pharisees were lukewarm in their ways, because they didn't truly live for God. They kind of just lived selfish lives, and um, they kind of did these things, all these different things, but fasting and everything else, but because they loved people, they loved what people since they loved the people, how people like they loved more than God. They loved what um but anyway, they loved to be plotted more than they loved to gain God's favor. So it happened. So like although they did all these religious things, they more did it for others than for God, for others to applaud them, than rather than gain God's favor and grow in a close relationship with God. And this ultimately led the Pharisees to be like hard-hearted and um very sinful, very not very not necessary, hard heart, they got hard-hearted, um they didn't have a heart for God. And so I believe this is representative of the Laodicean church as well, because the Laodicean church was also I did also draw these connections from a certain video I watched too. But the Laodicean church was also considered hard, lukewarm, because part of its heart was in the world, and part of its heart was for God. And uh, so we see it both with the Pharisees and scribes, and we see this with the Laodicean church, because the Laodicean church was um, their heart was partially towards the world and partially with God. What meanwhile the Pharisees also, their heart was partially in the world and partially with God. Except we see more in depth with the Pharisees. With the Pharisees, we can see that they loved to be applauded more than than God than instead than love God's favor, and they loved and they were also greedy, and they like and also and they're even jealous. They're even jealous when Jesus came to preach the gospel to people, to the world, and they started ministering. The Pharisees were a problem, and they were really jealous, because people were going more towards Jesus than for them. So I hope this video perhaps helps you to understand it better. But of course, I didn't fully understand it either until perfectly, until I drew this connection. Um, but as um, as it says within Revelations 3, it says, "I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot, and I wouldst thou were cold or hot." But so then thou art lukewarm, and neither cold nor hot. I will spew thee out of my mouth, because thou sayest, I am rich, increased in goods, I need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched, and miserable, and poor, and blind, and naked. So it's partially like the Laodicean church was partial, like greed was like filled with greed, perhaps, and like contentment and comfort, rather than they grew like sort of um uh and their heart sort of like grew like hardened towards God, that though they were like they probably perhaps did like religious works and stuff like that, but though they may have done all these different things, their heart wasn't really for God. It wasn't really rooted in God, but it was rather rooted in things, this world, than God. Because as they kind of said, because out kind of like is said when we see they uh they said that um so I think that's the video. Sorry I paused it a couple times. I as well try I first I had to like open my Bible to really get like the verse to show you, but or not show, well, I ain't to read to you, um but yeah, there was a but yeah, so that's essentially what I get from the that's what I essentially get from it, that's what necessarily causes like the lukewarmness which was in their hearts, that they were heart that they were that's why the Pharisees are so hard-hearted towards God, and um that's why also like uh that church was like the church was like the Laodicean church wasn't like appreciated by God. And here's like the course of scripture, so you guys can read it yourselves. But I guess that's the video. Um, God bless you guys, and I hope to see you next video.